Real talk, raw truth, raging hearts. Welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. Like, share, and subscribe.
Hi, welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. I'm Heather.
And I'm Ashley.
How was your week?
My brain has not been the happiest or the nicest of places to be this week. BPD's a real bitch. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. How's your week been?
Mentally devastating. I was informed and then re-informed elsewhere and reinforced that for somebody with my specific trauma, BPD, bipolar, etc., the likelihood that I will find somebody that has the capacity to be in a relationship with me is unlikely.
I don't think that. I just think it's going to take somebody that already has some knowledge in BPD to understand the ups and downs of it.
Oh, well, they didn't say it wasn't impossible. They just said that the level of emotional maturity and the capacity that it will take to be in a relationship with somebody that loves as deeply as an intent and as intensely as I do, but also because of BPD stabilizes within my relationships or is destroyed by them. Very few people will have that capacity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And as much as I believe wholeheartedly in magic and manifestation, like, I'm also a realist, and understanding that the numbers are not in my favor, that I'm magically in the right place at the right time for the 1 in a million chance, pretty much ripped my heart out of my chest this week.
I do see how that can be very upsetting.
Anyways, this week we're talking about the history of New Year's resolutions and where they actually came from. When people talk about New Year's resolutions today, they usually talk about them as if they've always existed in the form we know now. Personal promises to lose weight, get healthier, be more productive, stop bad habits, or completely reinvent ourselves at the turn of the calendar year. But that version of resolutions is not ancient. It's not universal. It's not even particularly old. What is ancient is the idea of marking time, reflecting on the past, and realigning with what matters. The problem is that somewhere along the way, we replaced reflection with pressure and alignment with self-judgment. To understand how that happened, we have to go back much further than January gym memberships and diet culture.
Yeah. And it is a fairly, like you were saying, a fairly new thing. And a lot of the research I've done and my own personal opinion is it is very much a marketing thing. They get people to get the gym memberships, to switch to the healthy food, to buy the new, like, fuel-efficient car, all in the sake of being a new, bigger, brighter you that's definitely going to hold through this year, unlike every other year when you bought last year's shit from them.
Yeah. Well, we do have actually ancient origins in New Year's resolutions. They just weren't.
They were different.
They didn't come at it from the way commercialism does.
Yeah.
Ancient Babylon, the earliest roots, about 2000 BCE. The earliest known predecessors to New Year's resolutions come from ancient Babylon, nearly 4,000 years ago. The Babylonians, celebrated a 12-day festival called Akitu, which marked the beginning of a new year. But here's the first important difference from modern resolutions. This festival wasn't about self-improvement. It was about restoring balance and order. During Akitu, people made promises not to themselves, but to their gods and their community. These promises were deeply practical and relational. Returning borrowed tools, paying outstanding debts, reaffirming loyalty to the king, restoring social and moral order. These were not aspirational goals. These were repair commitments.
Mm-hmm.
The question wasn't, how can I become better? It was, what needs to be made right? And that distinction really matters more than people realize. The Babylonians understood something we largely have forgotten. A new year isn't a blank slate. It's a continuation. And if something is broken, ignoring it doesn't make the future cleaner. Already, you can see how far this is from the modern idea of resolutions as self-optimization projects.
Yes.
In ancient cultures, time was not viewed as a straight line moving endlessly forward. It was cyclical. The year didn't demand transformation. It invited realignment. You weren't expected to emerge as a new person. You were expected to recenter yourself within the rhythms of life, community, and responsibility. That cyclical understanding of time made space for human elimination. There was no illusion that one ritual moment could undo everything that came before it. Contrast that with how January is framed now. New year, new you. Start over.
No,
Fix it all now.
you only have so long to do it.
That's not ancient wisdom. That's modern pressure. Then we fast forward to ancient Rome, where January gets its name from Janus, the god of doors, thresholds, transitions, and passages. Janus is famously depicted with two faces, one looking backwards and one looking forward. That symbolism is critical. The Roman New Year wasn't about erasing the past. It was about acknowledging it while choosing a direction forward. Romans would make offerings to Janus and reflect on the actions of the previous year, the direction they wished to move next. Again, the emphasis was on orientation, not performance. Like, where am I going with myself this year?
And the more and more you look into ancient times, that was really what their new year was. It wasn't forget everything that like you did wrong and then just become a better version. It was, what did I do wrong? How can I fix it? How can I improve myself as a inner being and move forward with the steps that I have taken?
Yep. They weren't asking, how do I overhaul myself? They were asking, where am I standing and where am I headed? This is a subtle but profound difference. Orientation allows for adjustment. Performance demands success. The real shift begins later, particularly during the medieval Christian era. This is where New Year intentions start to transform into moral vows. Reflection becomes confession. Alignment becomes repentance. Change becomes a measure of virtue. Instead of asking what needed support or repair, people began asking, what is wrong with me? And more importantly, what must I deny or punish in myself to be worthy?
Yes. And honestly, that is such a big thing with our new standing New Year's resolutions. It's so rarely I want to do this to be a better person or to get a better outcome. It's I feel bad I'm like this, or other people don't like this about me, so I feel I need to change it. And it just feeds into this giant system of guilt.
Yeah. Our world's good at that one.
Yeah.
This moralization of change laid the groundwork for shame-based motivation, the idea that suffering proves sincerity. That mindset didn't stay confined to religion. Over time, it bled into culture, productivity, and even capitalism. By the time we reach the modern era, New Year's resolutions have been fully absorbed into productivity culture. Resolutions become individual, performative, outcome-based, publicly measured. They are no longer about balance or alignment. They are about optimization.
Mm-hmm.
You're expected to do more, be more, fix more, prove more. And if you fail, that failure is framed as personal weakness, not a flaw in the system.
Yeah. And
This
it's
go ahead.
almost like they design things for you to fail in those first few months so that it does again feed their system.
Yeah. This is also where resolutions became deeply commercialized. Diet programs, fitness challenges, productivity systems, self-help cycles. January becomes a season of selling solutions to problems that you were defined by yourself or society.
Yeah.
What's especially telling is that many non-Western traditions never adopted this pressure-based model at all. In Chinese New Year, the focus is on cleaning the home, honoring ancestors, letting go of stagnant energy, inviting prosperity and renewal.
Oh.
There was no mandate to reinvent yourself. There was no expectation of perfection. In Japanese traditions, New Year's ritual emphasized purification and reset, not punishment. Many indigenous cultures continue to view time as seasonal and cyclical, where growth happens in phases, not deadlines. These traditions recognize something modern culture ignores, or modern resolution culture ignores. Human beings are not machines that can be rebooted on command.
Yeah.
So when people say, I always fail at my New Year's resolution, the problem isn't a lack of discipline or commitment. The problem is that we've taken something that was once about reflection, repair, and alignment and turned it into a yearly test of worth.
Yeah. And it is pushed everywhere.
Yeah. We kept the calendar, we kept the pressure, but we lost the humanity? I don't know how that makes sense, but that's what we keep doing. New Year's resolutions weren't meant to make us feel broken. They were meant to help us realign. And somewhere along the way, we forgot the difference. Moving into section 2, why modern resolutions fail pressure, nervous systems, and real bodies. Section 1 was about how we lost the original meaning of New Year's resolution. This section is about what that loss does to real people in real bodies. Because once resolutions stopped being about reflection and alignment and started being about performance and self-correction, they stopped working. Not because people became weaker, but because the system became incompatible with how humans actually change.
Yeah. Like you said, it's almost like at the first of the year, like they're wanting a hard reset on everything. Like, and that's not how our nervous system works.
No. Modern resolution culture assumes that motivation is something you can manufacture through pressure. But biology doesn't work that way. Pressure does not create change, it creates stress. That's the part that nobody really wants to talk about, honestly. When you place a rigid expectation on yourself, especially one tied to identity, worth, or morality, your nervous system does not interpret that as motivation. It interprets it as a threat.
Yeah, that's an attack.
Threat activates stress. Stress elevates cortisol. Cortisol suppresses executive function. Executive function is the part of the brain that is responsible for planning, consistency, emotional regulation, impulse control, follow through.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say, I just didn't have the discipline, what they're really describing is a stress impaired nervous system trying to function under unrealistic pressure.
Yeah, and it's not going to let you add another thing to it.
Nope. This is why the stricter the resolution, the faster it collapses. Not because people don't care, but because pressure narrows capacity instead of expanding it. Resolution culture treats failure as evidence that you didn't want it badly enough.
Which
That
is
should make some
fair.
sense. No, it's not fair. And that should make my eye twitch because what? I'm constantly going back to this. We teach kids like your value, your worth isn't based on what you can and can't do. Just keep trying and put your best effort forward, and eventually you will succeed. You'll find your own way to succeed, regardless of how the world feels about it. But then when people turn adults, we're like, you're doing it wrong.
Right? You should have it figured out by now.
It's like, wait, what? Isn't that the opposite of what you've been telling me my whole life?
Yeah, it's like, you know what? You didn't get a parenting manual, and I don't have an adulting manual, so.
Yeah. So what in reality usually ends up happening looks like this. You start with motivation, you apply pressure, the pressure triggers stress, stress reduces capacity, reduced capacity leads to inconsistency, inconsistency triggers shame, shame leads to avoidance, avoidance gets labeled as failure. And then people quit. Period. Not because they're lazy, but because continuing would mean enduring constant self-criticism. At that point, quitting becomes an act of self-protection and preservation.
Yeah. And like Heather had said earlier, you know, when you get stressed out, your cortisol rises. And I know the biggest, like, New Year's resolution in America is I'm going to lose weight. Cortisol directly makes your fat cells hold on for dear life because it thinks it's about to be in a starvation situation. Like, it is the worst. And then you don't have the motivation to go exercise, like, or anything else. Like, again, a giant vicious cycle.
And it is. It really is. And this is where I want to ground in my own body because theory only goes so far. I've spent nearly 17 years living in a medically complex body since giving birth to my youngest child. I mean, I've always had a medically complex body. They just didn't recognize that. But like from the outward appearance, I was thin, I was fit, I was healthy, I could do all the things. Now I am not thin. I am not fit. I do not appear as healthy as I really am, but
yeah.
All of that from giving birth. And this has not been a short season, getting back on track. This has been chronic illness, autoimmune issues, chronic pain, a fucking heart attack for fuck's sake, medication management, energy limitation. And one thing I can say with complete certainty is this. Nothing that lasted came from forcing myself harder. And that is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
For me personally, like, I think everybody's had a resolution that they didn't stick to, like, but for, like, part of my mental health for a long time was self-demonization. And Heather knows this. I thought I was one of the worst fucking people on the planet. I thought I was a horrible person. But that really kind of leads into it. Oh, I failed my goals. Of course I did. Like, of course you're a fucking worthless human being. Of course you're gonna fail a goal. Like, and it would perpetuate my mental health issues to an extent.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle that feeds itself.
Yeah.
Every meaningful improvement came from slowing down enough to understand what my body could actually support. People often hear pieces of my story, like the 7-day water-only fast, and assume it was extreme, impulsive, or reckless. It wasn't. That fast took 2 full years of preparation. 2 years of talking to doctors, adjusting medications, understanding my specific risks, preparing my body slowly and intentionally. Because when you have a complex medical history, you don't get to treat your body like a challenge experiment.
Yeah.
You just don't. You don't just decide. You coordinate.
Yeah. You have to.
But this is exactly what resolution culture encourages people to do. Decide first, think later. 7-day challenges, 30-day resets, instant transformation. The body doesn't recognize those timelines.
Not
It
at all.
recognizes adaptation.
Yes. And that takes time and understanding of your own body.
And finding a medical team that works for you, not just saying doctors don't understand me, because 20 years of doctors telling me that I did not have medical issues, only for them to take the same exact symptoms that once I hit my 40s and they're like, oh, well, you have this autoimmune, you have fibromyalgia, you have this and that and the other thing. And it's like, okay, but these symptoms haven't changed in 20 years. And you guys all told me 20 years ago that it couldn't have been any of those things because I was too young to have. And now that I'm in my 40s, all of a sudden it makes sense.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that there's no doctors on the planet, because I've had that most of my life. And let me tell you, I found 3 doctors throughout my lifetime that actually did some shit. And my current doctor is amazing. But it takes walking away from doctors when they don't have your best healthcare and continuing even with anxiety and fear that it's going to be the same shit show over again.
Yeah.
Going to a new provider and then starting over. And yeah, sometimes looking them dead in the eyes and going, yeah, no, this ain't going to be a fit. I'm going to move on to somebody else. Okay. Thanks. Nothing. Yeah. No hard feelings.
Yeah. You have to be your own biggest advocate.
Because all these professionals that everybody leans on, y'all have to remember they're people just like you and I. They too have bad days, or they don't like people for no random reason, or, some days they just don't want to be alive, just like you or I. They're like, today is not the day. And then you happen to be the patient that day, and they're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with you. It just had to do with their world being upside down and you being the passing target.
Yeah. It happens.
Yes, because we're people. But that doesn't mean that you won't find a care team that'll work with you to achieve your goals. Like, everybody's goals are different. At this point in my life, I don't worry about losing weight because I know that my thyroid is not going to make that very plausible. I won't say impossible, but it won't make it very plausible. So I stopped worrying about that. And as long as when they're running all their tests, they're like, okay, you're still strong and healthy, even with all the problems, then we're good. Then for me, that's healthy. If they can say I'm healthy in my current state, then why am I going to fight it because I'm not the ideal version of myself that I once was?
Yeah, exactly. As long as you're healthy and your body is doing what it needs to, so be it.
The difference between supportive change and depleting change. One of the clearest examples of this for me was movement. Ironically, I was able to move more when I had my car. The car supported me. Heated seats help my hips and lower back when inflammation flared. I could drive up to a trail, do a short hike, come home feeling invigorated, not depleted.
Yeah.
That distinction matters. Movement supports the nervous system, restores energy. Movement that overwhelms it drains energy.
Yes.
Walking miles now all the time, not by choice, but by necessity, has not built strength. It has actually torn my body down to where it is excruciatingly painful for me to even walk a quarter of a mile now, which is not very far. I mean, I still do my mile walks, but I literally come into my house and collapse onto the bed feeling like I'm dying because my body cannot handle the strain on my bones and joints anymore. Yeah. So it's hard, you know. It's not that I don't want to walk, it's that like when I do, it makes it worse for me.
Yeah.
It's like, geez, can't win for losing here. And yet resolution culture would look at that and say, well, at least you're moving.
Yeah. With no concern of the damage it's actually doing.
Yeah. As if all movement was equal, as if context doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We have definitely become very blind to other people's needs in the world, and sometimes even to our own, and in this culture that pushes us to be the bigger, better version of ourselves constantly.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, I personally think this is the time of year when a lot of eating disorders seem to pop up, and a lot of mental health issues, and a lot of other things. And it's because people are pushing themselves in the extreme, and it's not beneficial for them.
Yeah. And why one-size-fits-all resolutions fail? Resolution cultures assume all bodies respond the same, all minds process stress the same, all timelines are equal, all goals should be pursued with intensity. That assumption is false. Trauma changes how stress is processed, chronic illness changes recovery timelines, neurodivergence changes motivation cycles, pain changes capacity. And before I finish that little section right there that I was talking about, let me just be clear about like people with ADHD and autism and OCD, things like that. Motivation is not just a challenge. There are days where you are motivated to do everything. Like you could literally do a week's worth of work in one day. And there are days where wiping your ass once you're done on the toilet is oftentimes just the thought of that is excruciating. That is too much energy. Yeah. And I know that's gross, but like literally, you're just like, I did the deed. I really have to also expend energy to clean up.
Yeah.
And I don't say that like as a joke. I mean that, and that as a human stance. Like everybody's entitled to have those moments.
Yeah. They are moments of weakness, or it doesn't mean that you're not trying. Your body just, it needs the shutdown.
Yeah, they're not moments of privilege or priority or preference or entitlement. It's, you're right as a human.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone fails to meet a rigid resolution, what actually is happening most of the time is a mismatch between the demand and the system. Not a moral failure, a design failure. This is where shame sneaks in because the culture doesn't account for complexity. It fills the gap with blame. If it didn't work, it must be you. If you couldn't sustain it, you must lack discipline.
Mm-hmm.
If you quit, you must not want it badly enough.
Yeah. That's definitely one I grew up with. You must have not wanted it that bad. You must have not tried that hard. Like,
Yeah.
But you are not me, and you have no idea how much energy I put out towards it.
Yeah, I added that one in because it's one that I myself, not only did I grow up with as a culture, like culturally every person saying stuff like that, but I too have in my life said that more than a few times. And when I was doing this, I cringed hard. I was like, yes, I too have been that person, and fuck. But also, that just highlights my own humanity.
Mm-hmm.
That narrative keeps people trapped in cycles of self-punishment. And worse, it makes people distrust their own signals.
Yes.
Pain becomes something to override. Fatigue becomes something to ignore. Boundaries become excuses. Eventually, people stop listening to themselves altogether.
Oh, yeah.
This is usually where the emotional side shows up. The shame spiral, the why can't I just be normal thoughts. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The internalized belief that everyone else can do this except you.
Yeah. Yeah. I fought with that one for a long time. Still do
definitely
half the time.
I was gonna say I definitely do that. And the why can't I just be normal? I swear to God, I still think that at least 20 times a day.
Yep. Mm.
I'm like, or if it's not, why can't I be normal? It's like, why can't I just be loved?
Yeah. Mm.
Slowing down is not quitting. One of the most damaging lies of resolution culture is the idea that slowing down equals giving up. It does not. Slowing down is how systems stabilize. It's how bodies heal. It's how habits actually integrate. Every sustainable change I've made came from adjusting expectations, building supports, allowing flexibility, responding instead of forcing. That's not weakness. That's intelligence.
Yes.
Bodies don't change through pressure, they change through support. And when we mistake force for discipline, we end up breaking the very systems we are trying to improve.
I've definitely been guilty of that one a time or two.
I definitely think we all, as human beings, not even just you and
Yeah.
I, but we all as human beings have definitely had, even if it's not those same words or those specific same actions, like I think we've all had relatable moments because life does not let any of us escape unscathed in some way or another.
Yes.
That's the reality. Like, it doesn't matter if you are the poorest of the poor or the richest of the rich. At the end of the day, none of us escapes unscathed, and we all bleed red. And once your body's in the ground, yeah, we all fit the same box.
Yep.
Maybe a little different in size, but it's all the same box getting buried with dirt. Or cremated, or however you choose to go, but the point's still the same.
Yeah.
From resolutions to support, how to move forward without breaking yourself. If the first part of this episode was about how New Year's resolutions were originally meant to help people realign, the second part was about why modern resolution culture collapses under pressure, then this final section is about what to do instead. Because it's not enough to say resolutions don't work. People still need and want direction.
Yes.
They still want growth. They still want to feel like they're moving towards something better. The problem is not the desire to change. The problem is how we've been taught to approach change.
Yeah.
The question we're taught to ask is the wrong one. At the start of every year, we're trained to ask some version of what should I fix about myself? That question assumes something's wrong, urgency is required, pressure will produce results, and failure is a personal flaw. And for a lot of people, especially people who are already exhausted, traumatized, chronically ill, neurodivergent, or just worn down, that question doesn't inspire hope.
No.
It inspires dread. So I want to offer a different starting point. Instead of beginning the year by projecting forward and demanding transformation, what if we started by looking back honestly?
Yeah.
Not nostalgically, not harshly, just honestly. What actually happened last year? What drained you? What supported you? What broke down? What surprised you? Because you can't meaningfully support a future version of yourself if you don't understand what the past version you just survived.
Yes.
Reflection is an indulgence, it's informational. You are giving yourself data points. So here's the reframe. Instead of asking, what is my New Year's resolution? Ask, what is one thing I could change, add, or adjust this year that would support my life better? Not make you skinnier, not make you more productive, not make you more impressive, but to support your stability, your healing, your safety, your long-term direction. And here's the key part that people struggle with. This does not have to be a one-year goal.
Not at all.
It doesn't need a deadline. It doesn't need a dramatic outcome. It doesn't need to be measured in numbers. It just needs to hold you up. One of the biggest lies we're sold is that if something doesn't have a finish line, it doesn't count.
Yeah. And I think that in all reality, it goes into a lot of sections of life. It's not just resolution, it's grief, it's anger, it's how you deal with something in time. Like, people expect there to be an expiration date on these things, and to live a fulfilled, healthy life, there can't be.
But most meaningful life changes don't have clean endpoints. Healing doesn't, stability doesn't, safety doesn't, rebuilding sure fucking doesn't. So instead of asking, what do I need to finish this year? It's often far more honest to ask, what direction am I already moving in? And what would support that direction? My example. For me, this year isn't about a resolution. It's about infrastructure. I have a 2-year goal, and 2 years sounds like a long time until it isn't. If you don't build mileposts, 2 years collapses into panic. One day you look up and you realize everything has to happen now.
Yeah.
And if I waited 2 years and then stood there going, okay, now we need to do everything, we'd be fucked. So instead of demanding outcomes from myself, I choose something much quieter, much more effective. I got a calendar. Not because I suddenly want to be organized for the sake of organization, not because I'm trying to control every moment, but because a calendar allows me to mark progress, track rituals, notice patterns, stay oriented without pressure. The calendar isn't the goal. It supports the goal. This specific calendar, for me personally, it's not just to support the 2-year goal, but it's also a witch's calendar, which gives me all the full moons, new moons, quarter moon, all the lunar cycles. It gives me the calendar of the year, or the wheel of the year for the holidays, and other important dates significant to people like me, without having to keep it in my phone calendar, which is my practical calendar for appointments. This is for stuff to do for my everyday life. That is for my spiritual practice and for putting specific goals that I need to accomplish for the 2-year goal of moving, so that I'm not ending the end of 2 years going, what the fuck is happening? And it's already less than 2 years. And like, not a lot has happened yet, and there's still a lot that needs to happen.
Yeah.
So I am not doing this to be like, oh, it's going to change everything in my life. No, I'm doing this because I know that this is one thing that will help me, that will not overwhelm me, that won't make me feel like I'm going to fail if I miss something on there, but it will keep me accountable to my goals, my long-term goals, and keep forward momentum going without the pressure.
Yeah.
Supporting my goals without putting any pressure on myself to new year, new me it.
That's important.
Yeah. This is the shift from willpower to systems. Resolution culture worships willpower, but willpower is unreliable. It fluctuates with stress, sleep, pain, hormones, and life events. Systems don't rely on mood. Support systems keep working even when motivation drops. That's the difference between promising yourself you'll do better and building something that makes better more likely. Support might look like a calendar, a weekly check-in, fewer commitments, better sleep boundaries, a ritual instead of a rule, a notebook instead of a vision board. None of that is flashy. All of that is effective.
Mm-hmm. You just have to find out which one is effective for you.
Mm-hmm. And why this shit actually works? Well, because when you build support instead of issuing demands, a few important things happen. Your nervous system stays regulated. Shame stops driving behavior. Setbacks become information instead of proof of failure. Progress becomes cumulative instead of fragile. You stop treating yourself like a project that needs fixing, and you start treating yourself like a system that needs care. Which you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you are.
Pretty simple concept, really. Mm-hmm.
Before we close, though, I want to offer a question. Not a challenge and not a demand, but an invitation. And if this isn't a question you're ready for yet, that's okay too. Looking back at 2025, what is the one thing you don't really want to look at because it hurt, but that helped you grow the most? Not that pain, not pain that should have happened, not pain that was meant to happen, but pain that changed you. I call it pain with a purpose. Not because pain is good, but because survival changes people, whether we want it to or not. And sometimes the parts of ourselves we're standing on now were built in moments we'd rather forget.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't about re-traumatizing yourself. It's not about forcing insight. It's not about gratitude for suffering. It's about recognizing something hard shaped me and I'm still here. If you want to sit with that question, journal it, think about it, or just notice what comes up or put it in the comments. And if you don't, that's not avoidance. That's self-protection. You don't owe growth on a timeline. You don't owe insight on demand. Historically, this season was about reflection and alignment. Personally, the only changes that ever lasted for me came when I stopped punishing myself and started supporting myself. So maybe this year doesn't need a resolution. Maybe it needs honesty, infrastructure, gentleness, direction instead of pressure. Because you don't need to become someone else. You just need to build a life that actually holds the person you already are. Or that you're choosing to become.
Either way.
For me, the opening of the year kind of slammed home hard with what I just talked about at the beginning, the information I was recently given. kind of slammed home hard last year because last year was very, very hard for me. I had a lot of things go wrong. I have had very little support available to me through that. And I met somebody that changed my perspective on what I deserve in a relationship, and showed me, even very briefly, what my life could look like with grounded love in my life. Healthy love. And when it did not go anywhere, it was so devastating because it really made me have to look at how long I've been alone.
Yeah.
And then it made me have to look at, as hard as that is for me and as devastating as it is to be told that I may never get the reward, what I felt was the reward for healing, putting in the work. Being alone has made it possible to hold boundaries that I never was able to hold in the past. And it's made it possible for me to decisively determine what is and is not for me.
Yeah.
So was it hard? Absolutely. Do I ever want to go through it again? Never. Did it fundamentally change some things in me for the better? Absolutely it did. So I won't pretend that pain doesn't hurt. I won't pretend that I feel good about going through pain. But I also won't deny when pain changes me for the better and brings about any positive transformation.
Yeah.
You got any final notes before we close out tonight?
Just be gentle with yourselves. It is a time for reflection, but that does not mean it has to be a time for criticism upon yourself.
Yeah, reflection is not the same as critique.
Yes.
And if it's not constructive criticism,
you don't need it.
Put it in the waste bin. You don't need it. Let it go out with yesterday's trash.
Yes.
Well, guys, I know that this episode is going to run a little bit shorter than what we have been running lately. We've been running closer to the hour lately, and this one's going to be closer to our normal 45 minutes. So I hope you guys get something out of this. I hope you feel seen. I hope you feel heard when you come here. And know that whether we know you or not, I love you. I love every one of you that comes here and puts the time in to watch what we put together. And if it helps even one of you, that is the goal.
Always.
So we hope to see you again here next week, same time, same place. And remember, rage responsibly.
We're also available on Spotify. We said what we said, and we're just getting started. Thanks for listening. Now go rage responsibly. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.